Hey, welcome back. Okay, we can get started. I'm going to talk for 1 minute before we really get jumping into the program. Just two things. One, there are some of you who worked in Photoshop before, and some of you have never touched it before in your life. I want you to know that I know where you're coming from because I'm self-taught. I went to college. I went to MyEd, and I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in illustration. And I got it before they started teaching computers. So I was a painter, illustrator. But soon after I graduated, there was a change up and things were starting to go digital a little bit more and more. And whenever I looked for jobs, they'd always ask, can you do graphic design? And I started lying and saying yes. And what I needed to do, which you could do back then, back in the 90s, is you could go to a Kinko's copy shop and they would have computers and you could rent computer time. And they had like Photoshop 1, Illustrator 1, and I would sit down and I would just start playing around and making my own assignments and doing everything and screwing up a lot. But I needed to learn it and I learned it. And I did it all on my own. There wasn't books back then. There wasn't the internet like there is now back then. So I know where you're coming from. And a lot of it is confusing. But the more you do it, the more you settle in, the better it will become. And that, now also like turns into this idea of when you get stuck or Photoshop isn't maybe doing what you want. It's not responding. There's so many things that happen, and it happens to me. Just do your best, save it, close, restart. Yes, it takes a minute or two, but it's better than banging your head of why isn't this working? Why isn't just refresh, restart. It's just some pixels. Each time you do this again, it gets quicker and quicker and becomes muscle memory. And you're like, oh, I need to do this, and then this, and then this, and then, oh, you're off to the races again. Yesterday, I was doing something in Photoshop. I was going over a project in Photoshop, looking at a student's work, and I did something. I clicked on this filter setting, and the image didn't change, but the sidebar did, and I didn't really notice it. And I was done doing all my work, and I couldn't close Photoshop. I had everything else closed. I was done. I needed to restart the computer for some reason because I was running into some other error, but Photoshop wouldn't close out. And it took me 3 minutes, 3 solid minutes, which doesn't seem like a long time. But when you're working, you're like, oh my God, to find that I needed to hit this cancel or done button. And it wasn't very obvious. It was down in the corner, but I still stumble into those things. Why isn't it working? Why isn't it doing it? And I just took some time and found it. I couldn't even close out of it, which was even the worst part. I couldn't figure out how. There's always a way around. Take your time, figure it out. If you need to and you get stuck in the program, restart it. Sometimes there's glitches. These are very intense programs. And sometimes if your computer is a little bit on the slower side, it may lock up, lag. You can get through it. It just takes some time. And then you're going to know, save often, or at this point, it's going to do this. So I'm going to make sure, I do this instead. Another big one is don't have 70 things open in the background. I know I sometimes talk make sure you have Creative Cloud open. That's number one. But if you're working in Photoshop, maybe just have only Photoshop open. I know the computer here can handle InDesign and Illustrator all at the same time. But when I'm working at my house, I don't open all three. I only open the one that I need. And then eventually they all get open, but I play it safe, play it safe. And let the computer do its work, and you'll get further along. So that's that. Now, today we're going to be working with selections. And you're going to be making selections. You've already done it. I already showed you how to do it last class. We're going to be doing it in this class in a bunch of different ways. And one thing is I want you so badly to learn shortcut keys. The problem is I know them by heart. And I know them by heart on 2 different computer systems. So for deselect, which you should really learn, is you use it so much in Photoshop, so much in every other one. It's Control D in Windows, Command D on Mac. My fingers know where to go on that keyboard, and boom, I don't even think about it. I say the word in my head and I automatically do this. Start to teach yourself to do it instead of going up to the top, hitting deselect. This will save you, a countless amount of minutes in design time and lets you keep your flow. I don't always mention it because I don't know the keys by heart, like to say them. So I'll just start to say, deselect. And that means use the quick keys. And it shows where they are also in the program. And if you're crazy, and this is a little much, Adobe does have their keyboard shortcuts published, but I don't think anybody needs to memorize like all of these. I mean, there's tons, but there's overlap for every program, and you'll understand the ones that you use the most, you should learn. Yesterday, I was working in InDesign, a different program, and I always use this one tool. And I thought, why don't I know the quick key for it? And now I know the quick key for the transform tool in InDesign is E. And so instead of me going to the toolbar and clicking and then clicking on it and then going back to my work, I just click E and everything changes and I keep moving and I didn't go back and forth. So really important to learn those. And if you learn them now, it's kind of easier to put it in your education now than learning later and then, being like, oh, I need to learn that. So deselect is going to be used a lot this week. It's a great time to just learn Command D or Control D and just get it ingrained in your mind. Anytime you see the marching ants, you'll learn about that in a minute. That's what you're going to use. So cool. Now the other one, we're going to open the file. We're going to open up our shells, our shadow box, whatever they call it. This come up today, and I mentioned in the past, sometimes in the beginning of the lessons, they talk about Adobe Bridge. We are not using Adobe Bridge. Adobe Bridge is for, in my mind, and you may hear different from different designers, it's for photographers. It's for organizing photos in photography when you have, I did a wedding shoot and I have 300 photos and I put them all in and it keeps them, combined, and I can make adjustments to all 300 photos. Like that's kind of like what Bridge is for. We use photos in graphic design as design elements. It's never the graphic, it's never the heart of it. If you want to do photos and be a photographer, that's a whole different area. You can take a class called Photoshop for Photographers, and you'll learn some of the same stuff, but you'll learn different stuff for photography. So when we go to it, when you open any lesson, if it talks to you about Bridge, just skip that part and just go to open, and then you go to lesson 3, and we're going to go to the start, and we're going to hit open. And there we go. That's what we're going to use. Do you like my giant cursor I put on now? I hope that helps. It's pretty irritating, but I hope it helps all you guys. I just figured that out today after 10 years of teaching. So we're going to start with something that used to be my favorite tool. And be wary. Once in a while in this lesson, they're going to have you do something, and they're going to be like, no, don't do it. And we're going to move on. You're like, well, why are you teaching me this stuff to not use it? They're just trying to cover all the bounds. Okay. Does that make sense? They're trying to cover off on everything they got going here. So that's why they're doing it. It seems confusing, and it somewhat is confusing. Instead of just teaching you what to do, they teach you somewhat what not to do. So the first tool, which used to be one of my favorite tools in the world for quick work, and it needs to be a perfect background. Oh, third thing I'm going to teach you. We are doing this lesson differently as well. We are going to work in layers. We are not going to do every step the way they tell you. So I'm going to know, because I'm going to hear from a bunch of people like, it's not working. And I'll be like, you didn't watch my video because I'm teaching you the better way. The book doesn't teach you the better way, but I'm going to show you right now why. Okay. So first one is they want the magic wand tool. So that is like right here, and it looks like a little magic wand. See that? It's got doo-doo-doo. And they tell you, like, make sure the tolerance up here is set to 32. And then you're going to click on the red background of the silver dollar. Now, what that did is that magically, and some of you can see it, is it set up a selection around the sand dollar and around the red box. That means this magic wand tool selected only the red. That's great, except for we want the sand dollar. Now, I'm going to deselect. Remember, learn how to deselect. If I do that on the sand dollar, you can see that there's a lot of missing parts. There's too many marching ants everywhere, and I only want it around the outside. So Adobe, in their smartness, have developed a better way to do it. You used to be able to do this by adjusting this tolerance up and down, and it took a couple tries, but we're going to do it with a different tool and not the magic wand tool. There you go, back and forth. Why are we doing that? I taught you the magic wand, and then they're sort of saying don't use the magic wand, which is kind of weird. So we are going to use the quick selection tool. So I'm going to deselect again, and I'm just going to use my quick key to deselect. Now I'm going to go to the quick selection tool, which is right above the magic wand. Remember, you press and hold. If there's a little arrow next to the square, the little arrow in the corner, that means there's more hidden in there. And that's why you click and hold. So this is the quick select tool. This is what it looks like. And all I'm going to do, I'm inside the sand dollar. I'm just going to swipe. And now there's marching ants all the way around. I'm going to go back and forth. And this is where the game changes. And I want you to start doing this and not follow the book. And I'll tell you why. In the book, they're going to be like, great, you've made the selection. Now let's move it to where it needs to move. And I'm going to quick key out to the full zoom, which is Command 0. Remember, quick keys. So view, fit to screen is Command 0 for me. I don't know what it is for the PC offhand, but I use it every day. Like every time I design, I'm doing fit to screen. Now they're going to tell you to go to the move tool, grab this and move it up here. I do not want you to do this. So I'm going to have to go backwards for a while. Oh God, move this generative fill down here. Here's why. I'm going to deselect. This is why we're never going to do that again. Is it cut this image out, it moved it up here, and it kept it all in the same layer. And I have no way to make another adjustment to this. It's one and done, and it placed those pixels on other pixels. And if I was like, I need to move the sand dollar, I can't. I'm done. So we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it a different way. So, and it's only one step different, and it's going to be the greatest thing you've ever learned. Okay, that's big, but so I'm going to take that quick select tool, and I'm going to get to the sand dollar, right? All I'm going to do, all I'm changing now, I'm going to quick key, copy and paste. All right, I did copy and paste. Now I have a layer, and guess what's on that layer? The sand dollar, all by itself. What do I have in case I screwed up? The original sand dollar where it was. And so what that allows me to do, and because we learned layers, is now I can drag the sand dollar up. I can move it, change it infinitely, all I want. And if I do something dumb, like squish it, I can be like, oh no, and then I did a bunch of other moves. I can go and delete that layer, go back, get my sand dollar, copy and paste. There it is on its own layer, and move it up. And I did not permanently change the image. It is still 100% adjustable, except for what I did that. So I want you to know that every step of this, when it says make the selection, then move it, you're going to make the selection, then copy and paste it to a new layer. And then just for organizational standpoint, I'm going to call this $1. Now I know that layer has the sand dollar on it. Done. That is so important in Photoshop to not build into the image, because you will not be able to make changes again. You know, like say this was an artistic piece and I was like, you know what? I don't like the sand dollar there. If I did it the other way, I couldn't put it in this box instead where, I don't know, it looks better, or here. It would be permanently stuck there, and then I'd have to restart. You know, hopefully it didn't automatically save. So from here on out, in this entire lesson and for your life, when you make a selection, you'll copy and paste it and not just move it. All right. It will save you so many times. So there you go. That's the easy one. I will do it one more time just because I covered off on a lot of crap there. But then I won't stop. I'll stop redoing this 6 times just to show you. But no. Oh, delete. Yes. All right. So we did the magic wand. All right, blah, blah, blah. Don't do magic wand. Okay, I deselected. Then I'm going to go to quick selection tool. And I'm just going to swipe on the, I barely move on that. Then I'm going to go copy paste. Double click on that. Call it $. You can call it whatever you want. And now I'm going to go to the move tool. And it's on its own layer. There you go. Greatest stuff ever. Okay. Now we're going to use a different tool, use the object select tool, and we're going to select this. Well, I got to lock this in place. There we go. We want this piece of coral. Now, one of the other things that makes this so great is Photoshop set this up. So it's basically, it works every time. But when you're working in the real world, you have to figure out which selection tool is going to work best for the situation you're in. It is a rarity that you have something that is like purely already cut out on a pure white background, or, you know, up here, a solid red background. It's usually like this or like this, you know, like it's usually got a lot of crap behind it. So this won't always work. So you're going to have to figure out which tools work better. So for this one, I went to that same where the magic wand is and the quick select tool, and there's object selection tool. It's a little square. It's going to make a square. And with this perfect reality here, all I'm going to do is this. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. Perfect. Perfect. See, it didn't select because I was on the wrong layer. I'm just going to do this again. Oh, when you do this, it's going to show you like, this is what I'll select out of here. I'm going to grab, click and drag, boom. If you can see it, there's marching ants around it. I'm going to copy and paste. It made a new layer. I'm going to turn off that stupid tool that turns everything pink. And I'll call this coral. Then I'm on that layer. I'm going to zoom, fit the screen. Command 0, Control 0, whatever yours is. Do it really quick. And then I'll move it up there. Easy. So that's all we're really doing in this class. Different ways to select the object and then move them. So you're going to be selecting, copying, pasting, moving, putting into place. There's an advanced area where we're going to do something with the S. Well, I'm going to make you do the S. And then you're going to change the color of the border, which is stuff you've already learned how to do. What's tools now? Oh, manipulating, repositioning. Oh, okay, this is kind of funky. All right, so we're going to go down to this plate. I'm going to make sure I'm the background again. Every time we're going to go back to the background. You'll be like, oh, that's a lot of work, Joel. You know, it's even more work is messing up and not having your image be saved. So I'm going to go, these are marquee tools. We have a rectangle, elliptical, and single line up and down. All right. I want the ellipse. And when you start the ellipse, you want to kind of like in your brain start at the corner of the circle, if that makes sense. If I drew a perfect line here and a perfect line here, it's about here, and I'm going to click and drag. Now we can never get it perfect, and I'm still holding down my button. I'm dragging. But now with my other hand, I'm going to hold the space bar. And if I hold the space bar, I can move that selection and then let go of the space bar, and I'm still holding down my key, and I can adjust my selection. So this allows you to infinitely adjust to get this selection perfect. I have yet to let go of my mouse button. I'm still holding on to that mouse button for dear life until I get it perfect. And when I want to move it, I'm holding the space bar, and I'm going to get it perfect. And I want no white showing. I'm just a little bit inside. And then I'm going to let go and get it perfect. So, and I'm going to copy and paste that out. And I'm going to call it plate. I'm going to do it once more. So if I do the marquee tool alone, as long as I'm holding down the mouse button, I can do this, but it's stationary to that corner where I started it. So for me to move it, that's when I hit the space bar, and then I can move it and change the trajectory of that corner. Move it, space bar, no space bar, space bar, no space bar. And this whole time, I've yet to let go of the mouse button. And that's the part where, like, when I sent that letter and I was like, you need a mouse. This is why. This is the reason why. Like, there's no way on that trackpad you could be holding the button, trying to move with the trackpad and holding down the space bar all at the same time. If you can, you must have like an extra pair of thumbs. And in that case, like, cool and nice. Like, I want to shake your extra thumb hand. So, but that's why we need the keyboard. That's why we need a mouse. Gonna hit, fit the page, Command Control 0, and then I'm gonna move my plate, put it in place. All right. Move selected pixels with the keyboard. Oh, I think this is. Oh, you know what? So this is a little different. There's the moving selected pixels with a keyboard shortcut. You can pass that one up because we are working on different layers, and I don't want to do that. But now the cool thing is I'm on this layer with the plate, and I'm on my move tool, and it's outlined, it's got a spot. If I want to make infinite adjustments, there's 4 arrow keys on almost every keyboard, unless you have like one of these like weird, like super small keyboards that's missing everything. You can just simply tap the arrow keys, and this moves it like 1 pixel at a time. And this is how you get infinite adjustments. I do this all the time. Like, this is my way, instead of like trying to like hold it and be real steady, like too much coffee, too much whatever. I don't drink coffee, but like I just arrow key it, and you can really, zoom in and you tap, 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 and you'll hear me say that to you. Maybe not in this class a lot, but other classes, I mean, just, it needs to be tapped over like 2. And literally in design, you are like, something is just a little bit off of it. It's off by 2 taps, and you just go in, you're like tap, tap, perfect. So use those arrow keys. Again, keyboard. The keyboard is your friend. Use it, tap, tap, move things around. It's pretty rad. All right. What's this one? Moving selection with arrow keys. Did it. But again, remember, because I'm teaching you a different way to do it, it's going to be different than the book. And I want you to remember, you're working in layers. The book isn't having you work in layers. They're having you work in its locked version. I'm teaching you a better way than the book. So just remember that. I'm going to get, no, it's not working because I'm teaching you. And if you came in late, you're going to have to watch the video. You're going to have to watch the beginning of the video to understand why I'm teaching it the way I did, because I talked for the first like 15 minutes about why I'm doing what I'm doing and why it's different from what the book is teaching. So go back, you watch the video once I post it to get up to speed and do this one correctly. All right, lasso tool. I love the lasso tool. It's pretty great. I do not do this shortcut key a lot, but it's pretty cool. So the lasso tool is under, like, maybe it's under a select brush tool, and there's a lasso tool and there's a polygon tool. I'm a fan of the polygon tool because you can just like click where you want it. And I only use this tool for like baseline quick selections. Okay. Like I got to get it cut out and I can go around something pretty quick and I just tap it around. But you know, now, and this was back in the old day when AI wasn't there and you just go quickly tapping around. And I like that because it was easier than the regular lasso tool, where this is where you click and drag. And if you don't have a steady hand, following something gets a little dicey, because the second you like breathe and let go of the button, it finishes it. And so it's like, there's a lot of like intensity here. Like I have to finish it, else it's going to finish it for me. So that's why I prefer the polygon lasso tool. But there's a cool way to switch it. Which one do you have to be on? It's not letting me switch it. Okay. So if you start with the polygon and then hold down Option, you can start to draw like the smooth one. And then when you let go of Option, you can go back to this. It's not something I do. The book is teaching you it, but I don't find it very intuitive. And usually for what we do, because this is for rough cutout, and now there are better ways. To this day, I never switch using the keyboard command for that, where you're like, and then hold it and then go. Like, I'm never really doing that. Just the nice one about the polygon tool, like doing this, you can do tiny steps and it won't finish it until you finish it. With the regular lasso tool, you can be going, and if your cat jumps up and you're like, oh, wait, it will finish it for you. So that's the big difference in those. And so that's why I would generally stick with the polygon tool. And then the other one, when you're doing this, I'm going to zoom in even more. Let's close this out. And each time I got marching ants, I'm just hitting that deselect. Remember we talked about that? Oh, this is a great lesson. Okay, I'm going to start with the polygon tool. I'm going to make sure I'm slightly inside and not slightly outside. We never want this white edge showing when we cut something out. That's called artifacting, and it's a dead giveaway that you did a poor job cutting out the image from its background. And people will be like, oh, I could tell you cut that out. Like for your underwater Odyssey, I'm going to bust you if it's like not cut out good. I'll be like, I can see a white line around that object. Like, how come you didn't do a better job? Like, and there's a million ways to adjust for this too. So you always, for anything, you want to start just a little bit on the inside when you're doing it and zoom in. So I can keep zooming in if I want to zoom in more. You know, like if you want to be this I get this accurate all the time. And then you could take your time, and I'm using that polygon tool, and I'll speed it up in a minute. But then I get to here, and you're like, what can I do? So I do nothing but hit the space bar, and then the hand comes up, and I move it over and into my field of view. And when I let go of the space bar, I continue to go. And then I hit the space bar, and I move it over, and I continue to go. Space bar, move it over. And that's the great thing about using the polygon lasso tool, is you can take breaks. You can get in super tight with this. Get exactly what you need, and then space bar, hold, and go. Photoshop, like I've said before, and I say in multiple classes, is all about it looking like you didn't use Photoshop. I think that would be like the worst comment that you could get is if you do a project and somebody's like, oh, I see you use Photoshop. And you're like, damn it, I don't want you to know I use Photoshop. So there's a bunch of other things like weird filters and weird, you want people to like, just be like, oh my God, how'd you do that? Did you do that in Photoshop? And then you'd be like, yeah, I did. But I'm really good at using the tools and knowing, you know, how to make things look good. So I went all the way around. I used the polygon lasso tool, and then it goes in and it finds the correct pixels. As you can see, they're stepping. It's a little bit hard to see on the one screen, and I just mistakenly moved it. But now it's got marching ants around it, and I'm going to copy and paste, and this is called a muscle. I think that's the way you spell it for this kind. And then I'm going to move it up here. And because I copied and pasted it, I don't have to do the other weird thing that the book is going to tell us to do. Because it's on its own layer, I can adjust it. And I can go to the corner. And when I see that little curve happen, I'm just going to click. And the other thing I'm now going to do is I'm going to hold down Shift. Because Shift makes it click to every 15 degrees. And when I see 90, I'm going to let go. If I don't hold Shift, I got to sit there and be like, it's real stiff with my hand and I'm trying to watch it. No, I want it 90 degrees. Just hold down Shift. Shift constrains. Shift is another one of those keys that you should be using every time you get in a program. Anytime I rotate stuff, I'm holding down Shift. Anytime, like in other programs, Photoshop is reversed now, is you hold down Shift to constrain the size of it in Illustrator and InDesign. Photoshop, they switch it. You don't have to hold down Shift anymore. I have no idea why they reversed it, but just start to know all those little things I'm teaching you. Is like, go back and rewatch the video. I'm happy to tell you again. It's amazing stuff, but all these are made that make it easier on you and help you. So again, when it comes to the book, you need to watch my video. We're using the book as a starter, and I'm finishing everything, doing it differently by using layers, which is the correct way to do it. All right, magnetic lasso tool. This one, I'm being honest, I never use. This one is another one of those where I feel like I get too intense. Like I don't like the way it draws. And it's like the final one, it says magnetic lasso tool. It's like the polygon lasso tool. It's got the little magnet on it. And you just kind of like, you have to click starting at the edge, and you still have to be accurate. And it's plotting around for me. But if you aren't pretty accurate, it will screw it up. Like it always screws up this corner. See that? Like it rounded out that corner. And I'll do another one because I can do it again. If I'm like, if you like go out too far, it went and got the wallpaper. And I have to click. It got the wallpaper because I like faltered. I went out here. Man, I wish the marching ants showed up better on the upper screen. It's like, you know, like right here it faltered. And so I don't necessarily love this tool because you do have to have a pretty steady hand. Whoop. But it's worth knowing. It comes in useful. Again, the more you zoom in, and if you take your time, the better it will be. Oh, it did a little bit better there. But even this, like, and I have a stylus. Like I have a pen tool, and I have a difficult time with this. And when you see that circle pop up, no circle, below it, there's a circle. That means you can end it, and you just click on it. And then I'm going to copy and paste that. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. But that's fine because I can just click to the correct layer. So I drew this on the muscle layer and there was no pixels. So what did it say? You could not complete the copy command because the selection area is empty because there's nothing there. So don't deselect. You just move down to that background layer. And I do that mess up all the time. It doesn't even faze me anymore because all you do is just click over, like, oops, whatever, click over. And then I'm going to copy and paste. And I'm going to call this NAUT because I don't know how to spell Nautilus correctly. All right. And then I'm going to move that Nautilus shell up to here. All right. What's next? Oh, selecting from the middle point. I think I went over this before. This is a little bit tough, but we can use hopefully the spacebar too. If I selected, well, I got to make sure I'm on my right layer, correct background. I selected the elliptical marquee tool. And instead of going from that corner like we did for the plate, you can start from the center. So I started and I'm going to hit Option. So I'm kind of in the center, but if I hit down Option, it actually will expand it center out. And I should also be able to hit, while I'm holding Option, the space bar and move it. So now I'm holding down two different keys at once while holding down the mouse button and moving my selection around. Again, why? Because we can. I'm going to let go of the space bar only, move the Option, and when I'm happy, I'm going to undo the click first. I'm going to unclick first and then let go of Option. A lot of you will get that reverse. Unclick, then the keyboard key. If you do it in reverse, that selection will move off to the side again. So it's always let go of your mouse key first, then let go of the keyboard key. Now I'm just going to copy and paste. And this is screw. And I move it up here. Now, this is where it gets fun. We're going to have some fun here. I'm going to move a little bit quicker. We got time. We got a bunch of things to teach you today. I'm going to make that screw smaller, right? I'm just going to grab the corner, make it smaller. Make it like decent smaller, like not like, and we're going to get it centered there, all right? Now, they talk about moving this around in the next couple pages. Copying a selection and moving the selection. Guess what? You can skip all that because you have a layer and it's called screw. And when I take that layer and I drag it to the plus, it's going to make another screw. And then I'm just going to scroll down. I'm going to zoom out just enough. I want to be able to see. And I'm going to grab that screw head and I'm going to move it up. Now, the thing I can do is when I move it up, I can be all squarely, or if I hit shift, it moves it up in a perfectly straight line from where I was. And then I'm going to let go. And then I take that screw copy and I'm going to drag it and I'm going to bring it to the plus and it's going to make another one on top of that. And then I'm going to drag it to the left, but I'm going to hold down the shift key. And then I'm going to make another screw and I'm going to drag it down. And I'm holding on to shift. And look at all those purple lines showing up. That's how tight it is. Like everything's in line with everything else. And that's what we want. Use those lines. All right. And now the great part is if I turn that off, all of these are individual elements that you could go back in and adjust if this was your own piece of artwork. The way that the book poorly taught us, these would all be embedded in that image and you'd be stuck with it the way it was. You always want to work where you can continue to adjust your images until you're done. But you would even save this and then we export the save as or export the JPEG and that's what the client gets. And we always have our working file. So that is why I'm so insistent. that like you're gonna have to watch my video in the beginning if you missed the beginning to know exactly how to do everything in this project and do it my way, which is better than the book way. Oh yeah. Now the modifier for this one is taking the S and turning it upside down. I want you to figure out that one. Then there's the harder one, but it's not that hard. But it just deals with a lot of kind of copying and pasting, selecting, copying, and pasting. So I tell you to, I want you to change the color of the frame. So I'm going to take the rectangle marquee tool, because this is a rectangle. I'm going to accurately select this whole area, and I'm going to copy and paste. And I'm going to call this one frame. Now you can turn everything off. You know, sometimes it's easier to work in like these situations where you know, every once in a while you turn everything off so you see only what you're working on. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to cut out all the boxes. And this is the way I'm doing it, and this is the way I'm teaching you. There's other ways to do it. This is just one way. But I'm going to go in and I'm going to cut out all the boxes. Now I made one selection, and these are all rectangles. I'm pretty confident that that I can do all of them in one swipe, and I can do that by holding down the Shift key. So you don't need to. One, if you want to do them one at a time, I made that selection, and I'm just going to hit delete. And then I can make another selection. I'll do it two ways. Do another selection. I'm going to hit delete. Do another selection. Be accurate with these. Delete. Another selection. Delete. Or you can do a selection. Let go. And now I'm going to hold down Shift. And I'm going to make another selection. And it's now selected both of these, and I'm still holding down Shift. And I'm going to make this selection. And then I'm going to hit delete. Is it a time saver? Somewhat. You know, like not, it is what it is. So, and then we learned how to make adjustments, right? So I want to change that frame color. I go adjustments, and I probably, you know, a good one. You could try a ton of these. Hue saturation is a good one. But what you want to make sure, you hit this button here called colorize. First, play around. Wow, move these things around. See what it does. You know, but I'm going to hit colorize. And then you can see what it does. And some of these are, you know, like in your face. Well, then adjust them. Move all these things around until you get something cool, you know. I'll go there. And I'm going to hit in, go back to layers, turn everything back on. Turn that background on. Oh, all right. This is going to happen to you guys. And I always forget about this. You have to set your adjustment. If I go to adjustments and hue and saturation, there's this little pocket, this little button right here. It's an arrow. It's a layer box with an arrow pointing down, and it says no more. So if you need to click that to make sure that it doesn't do your layer further below. So I gotta turn this off, and you can't go back. So I have to, oh no, delete. Yes, I want to. Oh. I'm seeing if I can go back and adjust this. Oh, you can, and then I can click that. All right. It's not often I do this colorizing thing, actually. So what did I do to fix that? In layers, like I had it wrong. If you can go back and make adjustments to this adjustment by double clicking on that adjustment. So I don't like that. I'm going to adjust the color again, and I can just change it to here. And then if I click this, you can see it does the background, but I don't want the background. So I can do it here, and I want it like seafoam green there, and then done. So it's a little bit back and forth with the layers and the adjustment, but to get back to where you were, you just double click this icon right there and it gets you back in. And then just follow the instructions for the rest of them, which is basically just cropping it. Crop it out, save it as a JPEG. So there you go. Very important, like I said, that you guys learn to start using layers now. Don't just do that lock it in selection, because you move it, and if it puts a sand dollar right in the middle, something happens. That sand dollar is locked there, and then you have to go backwards and backwards and backwards. It's such a pain. So let's not do that anymore. All right. That's the lesson from the book. Now, the matching lesson. And then we have the real world project. Matching lesson is almost exactly the same. All right. I got this file. It's a JPEG. I'm going to download it. And I'm not going to do any of this. Oh, no. I'm going to do one. I'm going to do two. Okay. Because I'm going to teach you beyond just like flat placement. So I'm going to go File, Open. And I want to go to Downloads and this and Open. All right. And I will use this quick select tool, and I'm going to cut out. Oh, see, I even missed it right away. I was rushing. Oh, got it. And I'm going to copy and paste that green duck. And it's on its own layer, and I'm going to call it green duck. And I'm going to place it on the shelf somewhere. Now, we got to size it, right? And we got to make it look good, right? So one thing I want you to think about, and you just have some fun with this. Like, I'm going to size, if I size the duck for reality, it's going to be like that big. And I'm going to look kind of like, where am I placing it on the shelf? There's two things to think about. Here, it's perfect placement. Like right there, it looks like it's on the shelf. It's great. I'm going to make another green duck. If I place the green duck up on this shelf, if I placed it there, that is wrong. I'll zoom in. Why? Because the shelf is going back. So I'm going to have to probably bring the duck down like this. And then I can go in on that green copy of duck. And I'm going to slice off the bottom. So it looks like it's on the shelf. But we can't see that? See that difference? It's all about how you place it on the shelf and what do you do to fool people into thinking that it's been there the whole time. So would you be able to see the bottom of items on this top shelf? No, absolutely not. So we're going to cut those off. Now the other one is we go back to our fine duck friends here, and I got this duck, and I did that super, tool. And I'm going to copy and paste and call it yellow. And I'm going to make sure I'm on it. Yellow. I'm going to zoom out. Again, I'm using those quick keys. And now I'm space bar. Every time you see that hand come up, I use a space bar. And just for fun, this duck is going to be a bigger duck. I don't know if you've ever seen those bigger ducks. You got any Jeep owners? But I'm going to put it behind that duck. But some of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that they're not lined up with each other, that they're overlapping, and like this one is in front and this one is in back, that they're not, that wouldn't be true if they're on the same plane, but one's got to be further back to look like it's in back of it. So think about those illusions you can create when placing those objects onto the shelves. And that's what you do. You place all the objects on the shelf. You can multiply them if you want, but all these guys, everybody's got to get on the shelves in a convincing manner. So that's, you know, just a step up from just placing flat objects. And learn that, you know, how to cut things off, use the marquee tool and delete, and use your layers, and have a good time. All right. I feel like that's enough on that one. It's nothing new. Final one is the advertising placement. So in the real world, what's going to happen is you're going to design posters, graphic designers, and then what we do a lot of times is when the poster design is done, we mock it up in a real world scenario to help the client see what it's going to look like out in the real world. And that's what I want you to do. Now you're going to be working, I want them to be in a presentation. So I have a little presentation template that you're going to show original and then your altered picture. I want you to start making the final pictures like all the same size, starting work with like cohesive cropping and stuff like that, which I'll get to. So what do I mean by this though? What do I mean by advertising placement? So first what you're going to do is you're going to go to the old internet and you're going to find an image. And I'm going to find an image and I want to make sure and it can be a poster, your favorite band, your favorite movie, whatever. And I'm going to go, you know, make sure I'm on tools, I'll make sure I'm size, and I want large. All right. And I'm going to take this one and it's 2000 by 2000. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to say save image as, and I'm going to save it into a place where I know where it is. I'm going to hit save. So that's my image. That's my poster. Now I'm going to do a search then, and you can do this in Google or in one of those. There's some pretty good ones here. I did Pexels, and you're going to find, and I did, ooh, that's a good one. Oh, I got to do this one because of the shadow. I typed in posters on a wall. Now I want you to be a little better than just flat, you know, like perfectly flat. I want you to challenge yourself, and I will do the challenge here by picking this image. All right. It's got two posters. I'm going to put in one and it's got a shadow. Whew. Going all out on this one for you guys. It's downloaded. I'm opening up Photoshop. I'm going to close out this. I don't need it open. Don't save. I'm going to close out this. Don't save. Now I'm going to open. Now we got to work with files here, right? Now we're working with 2 files at a time, but it's okay. So I'm going to go to File, Open, and I got my Pexels. That's my image. It looks really good zoomed up. And then I'm going to go to File and Open, and I'm going to go to where I saved my other stuff, which is Desktop, Photoshop, and are they the same? I think that's it. That's what I get for downloading in advance. Open. And there's the poster. Now I am going to use the rectangle marquee because this is a perfectly rectangle poster. And, you know, I picked this one. This one's hanging in my office at home. So I'm going to copy it. And all I have to do is go over here and paste. And it pasted on a new layer. And I can call it poster. Now you may be like, oh, I'm just going to done. That looks great. No, it doesn't. But there's a very easy way to play around with this. And with objects that are square like this, which is what I'm just asking to deal with, is you can use the distort tool. So I'm going to go to File, or Edit, Edit, Transform, and Distort. I'm not going to do Scale. I'm not going to do Rotate. I'm not going to do Skew. I'm going to do Distort. Distort allows me to pull corners. And it keeps all the other corners in place. So I just want to pull one corner to one corner to another corner, and one corner to another corner. So that's placed in. It's all right. It looks like it's there, you know, but I can do better. And by that, I mean, I'm going to turn off that poster for a bit, and I see a shadow here and a shadow here. So I'm going to recreate those. And so I'm going to create a brand new layer, and I'm going to call it Shadow 1. And I'm going to use the paintbrush. No, let's use Polygon Lasso tool because I can smooth it out. And I'm going to click and click, and I'm just going to do a general shape of this shadow, right? Now this doesn't need to be perfect. And I'm teaching you advanced stuff. So you're like, oh, the book doesn't tell you this. This is because I'm better than the book. There's the shape. And you can see, I hope you can see the marching ants. And it's called Shadow 1. And I'm going to go to Edit, Fill. And I'm just going to choose black and hit OK. I'm going to deselect. Now, it has a very sharp edge and isn't going to look very good. So I want to blur it. But the problem is I want to have a sharp line here and the rest be blurry. So I have to kind of do a two-step process. I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, which is my favorite of all time. And then this radius, what you're going to do is you're going to just move it. And you're going to see my shadow go fuzzy. I'm going to turn off this background. Oh, I'm going to cancel. I want you just to see the shadow. Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and let's like blur it out. And I can make it as blurry as I need it. All right. But I'm going to have to go back and fill in that line, but that's fine. And I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to turn on the image again. Because when I turn on the poster, that has to be on top. I can still see that fuzzy edge, you know, and I can fill that with just the paintbrush. Just pick a standard paintbrush. And it's on the hardness is 0, it's fuzzy. And I'm going to make sure I have the right color. No, it's black. Oh, cancel. I don't know, I painted blue. I'm going to change that to this. Why does it keep changing my color? Oh. It keeps popping to eraser for some reason. This is a glitch. Oh, I know why. That's an eraser tool. I just want a general brush, soft round. That's too big. And I'm just going to draw straight down, and I'm going to fill in that line because I'm going to cut it back out. I want it past. And then I'm going to use my Polygon Lasso tool, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to make a straight line down, cut off the extra. And then we've done this before. I'm going to adjust the opacity to like 50, And then I'm going to play with these. Normal, dissolve, darken, multiply. And one of them is going to look better than the rest. You know, like when you're going down, like that one starts to let some color through, some other things happen. But generally, multiply is a pretty good one. And I'm going to zoom out. And now I have a shadow. See how that works? And I can kind of see that little light. And I'm going to take my shadow and I'm going to take that move key and I'm going to tap it over a couple. And then I can put that top shadow in. This one's easier. Turn those both off. I want that dark shadow. I'm going to do the polygon lasso tool. I'm going to make sure I'm on a new layer. I'm going to click across, down, down, across, edit, fill, black, okay, deselect, this is shadow 2, move that up, turn everything on, and that shadow 2, let's knock it down, the opacity to like something else. There you go. And I could probably blur that just a bit. It's a little fake harsh, and I could tap it up. So shadow 2, tap it up. That's not that bad. So when I zoom out, so now both shadows are on top. So 3 layers, I was able to put in that poster by using the distort tool only, and in a few steps, add the 2 shadows in to make it look like that poster has already been there. So I want to see your before and your after in your document. And you're just going to be putting things into like the Google Slides document, just like when you're gathering your other items. I would like, super bonus, is that like the final ones, maybe they're all square, because we worked with that every time you do it, then that final one, I want it in this square format. So it's consistent. So like if you were sharing this with a client, they would only see these square formats and then they can post it on their socials. It's all perfectly done. So you crop that, hit boom. Oh, why didn't I crop it? Enter. Hit that. There you go. And there's my final. So that is the real world. And you're going to do it 5 times. 1 poster, 5 different places. There you go. Any questions, comments, or concerns? All right. Cool. I'm around. You should know what to do. You know how to ask me questions. All right, great. I will be around, and we got new stuff on Thursday. Cool.